Ourselves quick.
Oh, sure. Angel Whitehead from the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce.
Rick Pacoka, Regional Economic Growth Initiative.
Adam Tagan, Community Development.
Trisha Adams, Wisconsin Rapids Community Theater.
Social, City Clerk.
Rod Vinsky.
Amy Friday.
Lee Chavon.
Carol Burner from IBW Local 1147.
Andy Francis, Rafters.
Brandon Abbott, owner of East Tech House.
Chief Blevins.
Jennifer Gossick, City Clerk.
Deputy Chief Ryan Ruskowski.
Paul Muller, Public Works Superintendent.
Troy Taman, Walmart.
Perry Zorn, Walmart.
Tim Sorcy, Finance Director.
Scott Keller, Alderman.
Thad Kubaschak, Alderperson.
And Steve Cope, Alderman. All right. First item is to consider a request from the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters to hold the Rushing Rapids Craft Beer Festival on Saturday, September 7th, 2019 at Flitter Field. You're from the Rafters?
Yep, absolutely. Request is for the third annual Russian Rapids Craft Beer Festival. Very similar to what we've had in years past as far as how it's ran. Just looking to add a wider beer selection. It will be on September 7th. It will go from 2 to 5:30. We'll have a band playing there as well. We'll bring out a stage in left field double territory. The beer festival will be held in left field as well. And then people that come into the ballpark that have purchased a ticket will be coming to the front gates. Back gate will be locked just for crowd control purposes. Only one entry point in and out. With that ticket, they'll get a food item included, as well as their unlimited beer selection like they've gotten in years past. They get the glass as well included with their overall ticket too. Also sponsored by East Tech House. Overall, I think that's about the main points I wanted to cover. Vendors will be able to come in and set up between 10 and 2, and starts at 2 o'clock and goes till 5:30.
You guys have anything?
Was there any concerns with the police department last year?
No.
Sounds like a great event. Okay.
I'll move to accept the Raptors Festival application.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
Just the fee of $250 is what we generally charge for the
Yep.
event. If you want to add that in, just to make sure.
Would you want to amend your motion to?
Okay. I would accept the Wisconsin Raptors application with the $200 application fee, $250 application fee.
Second.
All right. Motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Next is to consider a request from Walmart Stores East LP, Troy Taman, agent doing business as Walmart Supercenter, number 1202, to extend their Class A liquor license and Class A beer license premises for the property located at 4331 A Street South to include an area parking lot for alcohol order pickup and payment. We'll start with you.
Yeah, just the extension of our liquor license to sell and dispense liquor and beer with our online grocery program, with compliance on the front side when they purchase it online, as well as the compliance before we dispense it at the car. Pretty strict guidelines on both of those, more so on the dispensing side of it before we even give the alcohol out to anybody in their vehicle. Making sure that we check ID, put their date of birth into the actual dispensing tool, and then obviously looking for potential straw purchases or anything of that nature on the front side to make sure that we're compliant in all aspects.
Well, with that, could you, I guess, verify, Ms. City Attorney, in terms of every person will have to have, that's doing that transaction, will have to have an operator's license?
Exactly. Yep. It'll require us in our handheld terminal before we dispense the groceries and liquor and all that to actually put their date of birth into the machine.
of the actual, the employee
The actual employee?
will require an operator's license, a bartender's
Yes,
license?
yes.
For that?
Yeah, responsible. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
And then, just for clarification too, is this something that would we be creating a precedent if we extend this? Therefore, if other businesses in town wanted to have, like an internet or a phone call ahead, if we offered this to this establishment and then another establishment came in and requested the same thing, is there a precedent that we would be establishing for that?
Well, and you will get more. I think Pick and Save is probably going to do this. I'm not sure who else might. No one else has requested. I mean, you know, they're extending their premises, so you can always say yes or no on that. You have discretion on that. I guess I think you should have some reason why this would be okay for this location, but not another store, and there might be reasons for or against that. But I would say, as a general rule, I think this is the type of thing that you either decide this is something that's going to be permissible and recognized in our community for our grocery stores, or it's not, because it's going to be kind of hard to pick and choose which ones you may want to allow it for. But that could be based on the size, that could be based on the history with alcohol licensing. So I'm not saying that you know, because you give it to one, that you necessarily have to give it to all, but it's certainly a new trend that's happening. You're definitely going to see at least one more of these. So I guess I think I successfully danced around your question enough to.
And I think you highlighted it on it. If we initiate this for one business and another business requests something very similar, we have to have good reason to deny, if we wanted to deny any future.
I would say to have a reasonable reason, right? A good reason. I mean, it doesn't. You have discretion, but you don't want to just be arbitrary. You don't want to have a discriminatory reason, or you don't. So, right? I think it's kind of more the philosophy of it, that once you're in with one, then you're probably looking at a couple more requests coming in, and unless you can kind of differentiate why one and not the other, with a good reason, then I guess you probably would consider extending. The thing about these is these have to be. You're not really purchasing the alcohol online. The transaction has to be the face-to-face transaction when you pull up, and that's why the gentleman was saying that someone will come out and it's a licensed person, and that's really when you pay for the alcohol. You can't prepay for that alcohol online, so it has to be a face-to-face transaction.
Thank you. And I guess that would be something for the committee and also the council to move ahead with, and I don't really have a problem. Again, I've been tagged as being anti-business. I'm not. I'm pro-resident, but I don't see that this would really affect residents in an adverse way. Is there any law enforcement aspect that you would want to consider on that?
My only concern looking at this would be the straw buyers, the gentleman said that they would be checking IDs at the car before dispensing the product, which is, reassures me a little bit, but that was a concern of mine.
Yeah, that's something we take extremely serious, even with selling alcohol at our registers in the store, is making sure that our cashiers are all well-trained and well-versed in, the judgment calls of if there's extra people coming with them, they have the right to deny the sale. So that would be the same thing with any of these purchases as well. They have the right to refuse that sale.
Is this a corporate type of a promotion? What's kind of going on with this, or is it localized?
No, it's corporate-wide. They're doing it with the online grocery business.
And this is the way stuff is going, but we gotta, in my opinion, in talking with Sue, we've got to be cognizant that if other businesses come forward, we have to have a pretty good reason if we wanted to deny. But now, if it works out with a grocery store, even a gas station has Class A away alcohol sales as well. So it could be a slippery slope, but I guess we could address that down the road too.
Any further discussion? I make a motion to extend Walmart's Class A liquor license for the premises located at 4331 8th Street South to include an area in the parking lot for alcohol order pickup and payment.
I'll second it.
I'm not opposed to it, but I'll let you second it.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Next is consider a temporary Class B beer premise extensions for the Downtown on Tap event, June 21st, 2019 for the following.
You skip.
Oh, I'm sorry. For us, number 4. Consider a special events application from the Heart of Wisconsin Business and Economic Alliance for Cranberry Blossom Fest and Lunch by the River and Grand Affair.
Yeah, so we are having our key community events coming up. As you know, there's lots of construction going on, so with our consideration for the application, we did have to move a few things around a little bit, especially Lunch by the River. We're asking for it to be across the bridge by the Tribune Building in partnership with the Farmers Market. So just a few changes there. Otherwise, the Grand Affair and the Cranberry Blossom Festival, they haven't changed from the previous, as long as construction stays on time. So just the consideration so we can have those events for the community.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
What did we end up choosing for the parade route?
I can email that over to you. There was some timing issues with the construction that we actually had to move it again. So I believe part of that is in the application for that.
Right, any other further discussion? Motion was to approve the application. Committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Next, item number 5 now. Consider a temporary Class B beer premise extensions for the Downtown on Tap event, June 21st, 2019, for the following licensees: Jackson Street Enterprises, LLC, Peter Jennings agent, doing business as Jennings and Company Brew Pub and Eatery, for the premises located at 210 First Street North. CNC Steckbauer, LLC, Cali Sailor Steckbauer agent, doing business as Whiskey Rapid Saloon, for the premises located at 150 2nd Street North. Holly Rocks, LLC, Steven Sager agent, doing business as Holly Rocks, for the premises located at 114 2nd Street North. Aaron's Weinsteins, LLC, Aaron Jennings agent, doing business as Aaron's Weinsteins, for the premises located at 160 1st Street North. BCA Enterprises, LLC, Corey L. Abbott agent, doing business as B's Tap House, for the premises located at 140 East Grand Avenue.
I guess I can start out by speaking to this. I spent a lot of time with the Department of Revenue agent going through the possibilities on these and making sure that we do it correctly, which is going to be a little change from last year because I think they have changed their opinion on suspending or for expanding premises and having bars share an expanded premises, which they say is not legal, which is kind of what we had done the year before. So what would need to happen is that the premises, and I don't know if did we get any of these
We
back
got
from
3 of the
Jenna?
4. 3 of the 4
Of the
have
new
been
ones,
mentioned, yes.
since we
They're
just-
in the
okay.
folder.
Okay, they're in the folder. Where they're expanding their premises just, basically just the sidewalk that's contiguous to their establishment. And then we're suspending the open container for the rest of the sidewalk, the street, and then basically Veterans, would it be Veterans Park between Jackson and Oak? Still, yes. It can be for beer only, no intoxicating liquor, that is very clear, that's state law. And you can't carry something from one bar into another bar, nor can you carry something, once you've left the premises of one bar and gone into the park or the sidewalk, you can't bring that beer back in. And that's the rules, and I just want everyone to be clear on that, and that's laid out in the extension of premises thing that they signed. The other thing is with Bee's Tap House, with the construction and such, what we're suggesting is that would only be approved if there is a clear, safe path between their entrance and getting to Veterans Park, and Grand Avenue is going to have to be closed. Otherwise, there's no way to guarantee the safety of people, and that's what we had talked about last time, but we thought it would be fair to at least allow the opportunity, if the construction is at such a point where, you know, we can handle that, then we will do that. So that might have to be a decision that's made closer to the event, unfortunately, depending on the status of the roads, and that's the consensus of the street department and myself and the Department of Revenue agent, because what we would be doing for him is, for Brandon at Bee's Tap House, is extending his premises to the sidewalk in front, and then we're going to have to either extend it, you know, somehow to get to Veterans Park, or further suspend the open container. I don't know if there's a lot of activity between Oak and Grand in Veterans Park during this event, or is everyone kind of to the north of Oak Street?
What about, you talk about construction, I'm assuming you're talking about street construction.
Yes,
but
street construction.
We're going to have Veterans Park under construction too. Should we
Right.
close that street and people can just be in that street? Because, and cordon off Veterans Park, because that might be under construction. I don't know.
Well, Veterans Park to the north of where Oak would be is, well, I guess, I'm not sure what's happening in Veterans Park and when.
I'm not really aware of the schedule yet either, but I'm pretty sure it's the whole entire piece from
Yeah.
Jackson to Grand.
So then maybe this is more just a street
Maybe
opening
close the
versus a
street.
park. Yeah, I guess that it will probably, whatever area is safe, will probably kind of be cordoned off. I mean, what concerns me is that when we give licenses to bar owners, we don't have liability for what happens on their premises. Once we say we're going to suspend our open containers on our parks, our sidewalks, our streets, that's kind of on us, and there's some question of whether we're really even have immunity from things that happen out there, so, you know, just a caution there, but I guess the main thing is we want it to be a safe event, and we don't want people falling into the construction area, so I mean, so it's gonna have to just kind of be up in the air, other than the streets. Are the streets gonna be okay? Like First Street would be okay, and Second Street would be okay for
Well,
sure.
Pieces of Second Street.
Yeah.
I mean, where our.
Yeah, farther down,
We're
right, by the
virtually,
bank.
Grand Avenue is right,
Yeah.
is where we're gonna be, right in front of the bank.
Right.
But we're trying to get it back together by the 4th of July.
Right.
Which this is just a few weeks before that, obviously, so.
Paul, I've got a question for you. I've been down to East Tap House, and I've seen that area now, like where First Street crosses by the bank. That First Street in East Grand, that intersection there, that's not ripped up yet. Are you guys planning on going any further back
Tomorrow.
tomorrow?
Yeah, so it's virtually gonna be under construction from the east end of the Grand Avenue Bridge to the movie theater here in the next, well, starting here this week.
Okay, what's your estimate of reconstruction
We said we're trying to get it back by the 4th of
by
July.
the 4th of July?
So we have 2.5 to 3 weeks worth of work in there, and then it's all contracted work after that. So it depends on whether, you know, if it's concrete and stuff like that, when the contractor has it scheduled to be in here. I believe he said that there was just over 3 weeks worth of work for them to pave it from the bridge to the courthouse.
You want to speak to anything, Brandon?
Yeah, the whole point of me doing it, I would ask the city to allow me to have a secure tent across from Holly Rocks for this event and do a premise extension to there. I have a brewery, I've done research already, I have a brewery that is willing to come and set up their own tent and have taps. It's all included in the tent. I'll have my workers there and I will be there for that. That will take away any issues of having people walking. Okay. The only hiccup is leaving well, you wouldn't really be in my establishment at that point, so I would serve you your tap beer across the street from Holly Rocks on the sidewalk, which, unless I'm reading this wrong, that's all closed off, correct, for that event? That street would be 2nd Street from Oak to the north. That's closed?
Yes.
For this event?
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, no vehicles can go there.
Right.
So if people are going to be walking around from coming out of a bar to drink out there, which is the whole point of the event, to have all the bars together, and there'll be bands down there, my suggestion and my wish would be to set up this tent and run it as East Tap House in there. That'll alleviate all issues from having to walk back and forth.
When you say tent, what size?
10 by 10 or 12 by 12.
Okay.
And it'll be sided on 3 sides, and we'll have all of our product inside that tent. And if we need more product, we can store it in Holly Rocks if we need to in their cooler, and we can bring it out at that time. I guess if anyone has any concerns, I could answer why we shouldn't be able to do it. I guess I can answer any concerns if there are any at this time. That's what Beast Tap House is asking us to be able to do. We don't want to run the event out of the tap house. We want to do it there because we know it's all included so close, and we are close. We're only within a block, but it would be easier to do it out of that tent. The brewery has the tent. They have the chill plates. Everything will be included right there. And if I'm told no, then we just won't do the event at all, because I don't think it's worth us doing it and having that chance of people walking that block, even though the road is closed. It just doesn't make sense to me. So at that point, if we aren't allowed to do it, then we won't be involved, it's disappointing, because the city's motto is revitalize downtown, and I brought a business into the downtown area, and I want to be involved in this event. And there's some, obviously some things that are not possibly going to allow me to do it. So that's what I'm asking, is to set a tent up there and do that. I will fill out any paperwork needed, I guess, and my question is if I can't do it, what's the difference between that and 4th of July when the aqua skiers come in and set up their tent and sell their beer out of it? I understand they get a picnic exemption.
Different type of license, but
Yep.
you're not eligible for a picnic license.
Okay, so at that point, I'll revert back to this first statement of I'm asking the city to approve to have an extension and let me set up a tent there. So
Sue, isn't in the around water ski showtime, isn't Johnny's Bar given a premise extension for their?
From the property, yes.
I don't want to cause waves here. I want to be involved with this because I want to be involved with the community. I was born and raised here. My wife and I opened a business, and I think we have a good thing going. I don't want to cause any waves, no hardships. If I'm told we can't do it, if the council votes on it or I can't, I'm done with it. But I'm not interested in doing it at the tap house and having people walk back and forth. There is way too much liability with that. If we could keep it all within that closed road, I think it would be a better thing.
Yeah, I think and this is one thing that a lot of times I don't really agree with the city attorney, but with this deal is, I don't know if we can actually approve a stand like this. And this is something that's very well set. with the Department of Revenue and Alcohol and Tobacco Regulations. And this has been hammered out years and years and years ago between the tavern thieves and establishing, and that's why there's certain Class B combo limitations for municipalities to give out, because these are all things that were decided. And again, the aqua skiers, for having a picnic license or a temporary beer license, you need to be either a nonprofit or a bona fide organization. You can't be a business. And again, it's one of those where, like I said, with the city attorney is 100% right on this, that the question is, will the Department of Revenue allow us to entertain that? And again, with Johnny's, he's got an extension onto his own private property, but what happens if there is an accident, and who has the liability with that? And then if it doesn't fall underneath the municipality's liability, if the insurance company doesn't cover it, then who do they sue? Do they sue all the bar owners? Do they sue the city in civil court? There's so many different potential concerns with this, but again, it isn't so much that the city doesn't want to authorize this, it's whether we can actually even authorize it as far as the Department of Revenue is concerned with that, and that's what Sue was talking about.
Right, I mean, I get what he's saying, that he wants to kind of do a little shoestring from his premises, you know, and so his bar is going to be licensed, and he wants to then have a path to another location to basically say that that's extending his premises. So that his extension has to be contiguous, obviously, so just like Johnny's is, and what we're doing with the other bars is we are extending onto the sidewalk or through the entryway. I guess you're saying you would extend the premises, but you would not, but no one would be allowed between your bar. If that's all closed off, we'll say no one can be there. Then it's just kind of an imaginary extension. There's not going to be any.
Correct, if that's the way you want to look at it, yeah, I mean, if that would be an acceptable way to make our extension down the sidewalk and in front of
But then
Johnny's.
your premises where people are drinking, so then.
They wouldn't be allowed to leave. The same as we do when we're open every other day.
But so you're gonna have like an area where people will. What do you mean? Won't be allowed to leave your tent area?
We don't allow our patrons to leave our bar,
Right.
open intox. If they so choose to sneak one out, then they get to deal with the police department and get a $313 citation. For this instance, what you're explaining, Sue, is to do a premise extension down the sidewalk across from Holly Rocks.
Right.
In my mind, no, I would not want my patrons leaving my tavern to go down to that area.
But that's the only way to connect
Sure.
you there, because you definitely can't just be on your own. You
Sure.
have to have that.
So if we do that expansion, I just don't tell them that they can do that.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
if that's
So
what you're
then
saying, that's what I'd love to do. I mean,
So then the people are walking up. I mean, your premises has going to be defined somehow.
I can do that.
Cordon it off or something, or because you understand, not taking in and out like from another bar coming into your premises, and likewise.
And that's new this year?
Well, it's an interpretation of the law that DOR has now said that that's how it has to be. You
So,
can't share premises.
So that's going to be probably the same deal for 4th of July, I would assume?
4th of July, no one was ever supposed to take anything out. I don't
Really?
know where, absolutely
I've
not.
lived here my whole life, and that's all that happens.
Yeah.
So,
There was
good luck this year, I guess.
There was a license given to the aqua skiers to have beer outside there. No license holder, no bar was ever, like you said, you never let someone go out. And so no one ever received permission to do that.
Right.
So that should have never.
Got it.
I
Well,
load on my
guess-
pontoon. I don't pay attention to what's going on.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't pay to keep talking about it. I'm asking if you guys extend it.
Well, I'm
and I
asking
put a
the
tent, so-
parameters of it so we can make it happen. And
Right.
these are important.
Sure.
These are state laws. They're nothing that I'm making up to make your life happier.
No, I hear you. My brother-in-law's
I've been
actually.
talking to the DOR about this
Right.
a lot, trying to figure out, away. So
Yep.
if we say your premises is your bar, outside the sidewalk, crossing Grand Avenue, down the sidewalk to Holly Rocks, and then you're gonna have an area, 10 by 20, then that's your premises, that's just like your bar is there.
Correct.
So then, but the change is we're suspending the open container so people can go off with a beer from your premises. People can't come back on to your premises with a beer.
Would it be better if you just closed for the night and only had the tent open? Would you be acceptable for that?
I don't think
Well, I don't
that's an
care
option.
whether he's open or closed, I mean, you just have to have that continuity, contiguity between, but I'm just saying the same law, rules are gonna apply to you as to what we just went through with the other bars.
Correct.
They can't someone can't bring onto your premises
Correct.
beer from somewhere else. And people, and even if someone walks up your premises and walks to the park and comes back on, technically, because what's happening is they're recognizing people taking unpackaged drafts from your bars or these bars as carryouts. So you can't bring a carryout back into your bar. You can't take a carryout into another bar. So that's why there's the kind of the funky rules of having beer in and out. But
Sure. However it has to be written or however it has to be, if it's allowed, greatly appreciate it. And if you have any more meetings with the Department of Revenue, I'll sit with you and talk to them. It's my brother-in-law. So I know him and I'll sit down and talk with him as well.
yeah.
So that's what I'm asking. So I appreciate it.
Given the nature of this, I'd like to take item 5 and do it in 2 motions. The first 4, we'll do separately, but for BCA Enterprises, Corey Abbott, agent, doing business as B Tabs House for the premises located at 140 East Grand Avenue. I would like to make a motion to grant a premises extension going down the sidewalk adjacent to Veterans Park to the south of the street there, crossing First Street to an area by the Holly Rocks, and give an area of 20 feet by 20 feet to B's Tab House for this event. Is that enough room for you, Brandon?
Absolutely.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and second on the floor for this one. Any further discussion?
I guess the one thing that I want to mention, Brandon, is that if and when the council approves this, just because the local governing body approves it, doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't violate state statute. So if the Department of Revenue somehow had a hair about this, came down and witnessed certain things, you don't have an excuse saying that the city gave you permission type of thing.
And before any of this happens, I will contact my brother-in-law and I will make sure that everything's kosher.
Sure. Yeah, so the question is, can we even grant authority? If it happens, it happens. If people look the other way, they look. But, I mean, that's, so
I'm not asking for people to look the other way. I've done it legit. So if it's not, and I'll do some legwork, if you want to make the motion and pass it,
yeah.
I find out it's not legit.
I could just amend my motion, make it contingent on approval from the DOR. That satisfies it.
Okay, yeah, I'm good with this.
So second. Okay.
I was gonna say, we're the licensing, and they're gonna give advice, they're not gonna, but yeah, well, we can talk. Who's your brother-in-law?
Tyler Kwan.
Bill. Yeah, okay.
Okay, we have
Doctor.
a motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Next, I would make a motion to grant the premises extension for Jackson Street Enterprises LLC, Peter Jennings, agent, doing business as Jennings and Company Group Pub and Eatery, CNC Steckbauer LLC, Cali Sailor Steckbauer, agent, doing business as Whiskey Rapid Saloon, Holly Rocks LLC, Steven Sager, agent, doing business as Holly Rocks, and Aaron's Weinsteins LLC, Aaron Jennings, agents, doing business as Aaron's Wines and Signs for their premises extension for the June 21st TAB event.
You made a motion?
Yes.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Next is consider for approval a Class B liquor license and application and a Class B beer license for Transfer Apple Venture LLC. Brent, or Kent Billingsley agent doing business as Applebee's for the premise located at 4311 A Street South. We have this in our packet. Is there anyone from Applebee's here tonight?
Is that an agent change with this?
No, this is a, do you want to, or?
It's a change in ownership.
Okay.
And so we have a license from the prospective buyer of it. I'm not sure of the closing date on this, but they are applying for the liquor license, and then the current owner of Applebee's will be surrendering that license when it's sold. So we have, so this is the license for the new company.
At the corporate level, are they selling out there?
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Cool. I'll make a motion.
I'll second that. Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 7, consider a request from the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department to purchase body-worn cameras and associated hardware and software. Guess I'll start with Chief.
You should have the 2 quotes in the packet, one being from Axon, formerly known as Taser, and the other one from Baycom for hardware and software. The police department researched both of these quotes extensively over quite a period of time. Axon is the better product. Axon has better support and more features, features that the police department desires, including a function where we can share the video files with the district attorney's office just by sending them a link, rather than the current program with the in-car cameras is we have personnel burning disks to send to the district attorney, which takes a lot of time. By being able to send that link, us and Marshfield both, being the 2 big agencies in Wood County, would be using that feature, which would greatly reduce the man hours. There's also a transition or a feature with Axon where officers using the smartphones in the squad cars can interface with the cameras, view their videos, accept links from business owners and from private citizens to download their videos if they took videos at a scene. Rather than taking this person's phone, we can just accept the link from them to download into the case files. The Axon system has many more features than what was proposed by Baycom. Looking at the numbers, to purchase the cameras, we're looking at 26 cameras, correct, Brian?
30 total.
30 total. The cameras, the licenses for the software, and the cloud storage and other associated items, the initial outlay would be $26,435. And then in subsequent years, we would have to budget to pay for the licenses for these cameras. Not only the licenses, but the software that allows us to redact. In case one of the videos is requested on an information request, we would be able to redact parts of the videos that aren't, that we don't want to share, such as the faces of juveniles, etc. That's all part of the cost per year to have this system.
What does that cost annually?
Annually, after the initial outlay, it would be a little over $10,000 a year for the licenses and the storage fees for the cloud. We would not have a server on site for these cameras. We would be paying for cloud storage so that we're not overtaxing the city's server, etc.
Chief, for the initial funding on this, the $26,435, where were you kind of looking at getting that money from?
It has already been, it was from the holdover funds. The leftover funds were voted on not too long ago.
March.
I think it was March.
In a carryover resolution, there was $36,650 carryover from the police department surplus to fund this.
Baycom system doesn't come close to it.
The Baycom system is, it doesn't have the features that the Axon system, the Axon system is just way above what Baycom is offered. Baycom costs more and it doesn't include server space. So to buy the Baycom system, we would also have to go out and either add storage to our server, which I forgot how much Brian said that would cost, Brian Landowski, but it would be over and above the $46,000 if they're requesting just for the hardware and software. So we do much prefer the Axon system.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I got, Chief, you got kind of a 5-year breakdown here. What happens after 5 years? Is the technology pretty much needs to be replaced, or is?
We would be replacing with the 5 years. During this 5-year while we're paying, the cameras are warranted. If we have a problem with the camera and it breaks, Axon replaces it. That is guaranteed. This also includes, the software updates, all the hardware that's included is all, if something goes wrong, they replace it. We wouldn't have to outlay money again to buy another camera. And as the technology, as long as we have the agreement with them, as the technology goes on, if the next generation camera comes out, then we would be getting those.
Oh, we would be. Okay, so I'm assuming that it's a 5-year lease type of a thing, a 60-month lease, but as we extend it, we could probably see comparable annual fees from Axon.
Yes.
Moving forward.
Yes.
So about $10,000 a year after.
And that's something that we would budget for every year in our budget and plan ahead for.
But we wouldn't have another $26,000.
No.
Mayor?
I think just to clarify on that point, my understanding is it's an actual hardware purchase.
Yeah, we're purchasing the hardware, but it is warranted.
It's warranted, but to get at the question in terms of replacement, we're going to have to add a replacement schedule for the equipment at some point, like your dash cams and everything else that has a life cycle to it. So I think we are owning the hardware. It's not a lease.
It's not a lease. Sorry.
Yeah, because I just want to make sure that we, long-term maintenance. And another quick comment about that was thinking about storage costs. As storage costs continue to go down, and that a concern that, or not really a concern, but a comment that we had discussed was on the 5-year basis that might we decide to host this on our own servers or something, if the costs go down from a storage standpoint, that we should maybe negotiate an ability to look at that at year 3 as opposed to locking in storage costs 5 years out for storage of the video and things. So that would be another comment. And then the third comment is we looked at state pricing, and Wisconsin does not have a state negotiated price with Axon. They do, many municipalities have this service. I think Wausau, I just saw in the last couple of months, renegotiated their agreement with Axon. Yeah, but the state has not done as part of the
That's the only other comment is Axon is the industry standard by far. Every large PD is using them, so the hard stuff has been done as far as technology goes.
So the state may negotiate something within that 5-year window, and we may want to, before we execute the contract, check with them to see if they would offer any ability for us to lock in some period shorter than the 5 years, since we'll own the hardware, and the hardware is independent of the annual ongoing maintenance costs. But otherwise, I don't have any other comments. Just want to
So should we postpone this then?
I don't think so. No, I don't think you need to. I just think that it's uncommon for municipalities to do 5-year agreements on things. We have a lot of discussion about council's commitments of priorities when council changes over, and who knows, the next chief or the next administration or current administration might decide within that 5-year window we want to change, but here we're stuck with a $10,000 license fee every year, on top of just the capital costs. I think it's the right solution to go with. I just am a little concerned about a 5-year commitment on the maintenance, but they may not offer anything else, in which case we have to take with what they're willing to offer us.
In my own opinion, I think these cameras are a very useful tool for our police officers to have, especially as we've seen in the news with some of the climate and officer-involved shootings. Sometimes you only get part of a bystander's cell phone grainy video, which doesn't show everything, but I think this would be a safeguard that police officers in our community would have it go quite a ways in helping them in justifying actions that they take in the course of their job. Chief, do you know, as far as the contract goes, do you have any ability to negotiate with them?
That's a question that the Deputy Chief and I were discussing before the meeting, is that we were gonna contact Axon and ask them that, is if they would have a shorter contract. You know, I don't have an answer for that. He quoted us the 5 years. If we could get 3, we could certainly try.
Most of our multi-year agreements from either a benefit standpoint, there's a notice period. We provide 60 days notice. And I don't know, Sue I don't know if we reviewed, if we sent you the contract yet on this one. We just, because just got it, but it might be just something to negotiate. So not that it affects your motion really, it's probably more of an administrative thing to maybe request in your motion to pursue it, but then seek a shorter time frame if it doesn't materially impact the, it's an ongoing
Myself, I'd be
budget.
happier with a shorter time period too.
I'd like to make a motion for the police department to pursue the body worn cameras by Axon. In this, I'd also like to give the police chief the ability to pursue a contract that's not to exceed the budgeted amount, but if he can get a shorter contract, that he'd have the ability to do that as well then.
And would you try and get something before council meeting? Because then that will...
We can certainly try.
Sure.
The Axon's pretty responsive.
Good. I'll second that motion.
Great, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 8, discussion regarding ownership history of the alleyway located at the 100 block of 3rd Avenue South. This item was a council referral.
Yeah, I guess I mean, the city has no interest in any of that property there. There is no alley, there's no street right of way. The city, on behalf of Water and Light, the fire department, they're content with the access that they have now. There's no buildings there, so. And this is a civil matter. I think the parties agree that it's a civil matter, so I don't think the city needs to be involved in it at all. Evidently, there's, you know, they want to maybe swap easements or something, but it's really nothing that that we should be involving ourselves in.
Anyone else?
I guess where does the utilities have access to it? There's boulders in all places that they can't get a free well. So where is it? Where's the access to
I talked to
the?
Water and Light, and they are perfectly fine. They have prescriptive easements, so to access, so they're content with what they have there. They don't. I mean, I guess I'm not sure.
So where's the fire access to it? But the fire emergency access, you know, access to this isn't a concern to the city either.
Access to what?
Like if they needed to go back to the back of our buildings
Well,
for fire protection or anything like that. It's always been the last 50 years.
Right, and to my understanding, they're fine with what they have.
Well, what do they have? I guess that's my
Well,
question to you.
I guess
They're all the access have boulders sitting in front of the where it used to be. So their contention is we'll just drive over any boulders or any logs or any lawn, and it's like, what kind of access is that to anybody? This has always been an alley for the last 60 years, and all of a sudden we've always used this. And we, as a city, we want to embrace small businesses, but of course, all of a sudden, my beer vendors and us, we have to truck everything from the road now instead of backing up to the back of our buildings. So,
I guess I'm Carol Berner from IBW Local 47, and we own the labor hall. Used to be the laborers hall. For years, we used that alley, which is a perpetual easement, and we use it freely and openly. And since the Mead Witter Foundation has purchased all the land around it, they have put boulders up on access to get to our building. So we have no access to get to the back of our building. We legally have no access on the side of our building. There is a city clean-out trap, which is located in the back of our building, in between Bowers and ours in the back. We have given the Waterworks and Lighting Commission an easement to put a box in there for utilities so they can get back there because there are power lines back there. And I guess what we're asking is that we use this freely and openly. It's been, I have records back to 1912 where that was put in. I did ask the city engineering department if I could get a grand master layout of the city of Wisconsin Rapids when it was first put in. They're telling me they're having a hard time doing it because it was Centralia prior to that. But from what I have, and I have to do some more digging, but from 1912, that Lot 7 easement has, perpetual easement has been there for the use of the businesses that surrounded it. The easement, that easement does stop to part of the back of our alley, the back of our building. We have a little piece of alley there on the deed or on the thing. It's that they have it as an alley in there behind our business. So I guess we're asking, is there something that, I know the city has not helped us at all. They're saying that they're not going to get themselves involved in it. I guess I want to know is who originally set that up as an easement or an alleyway, and is there anything that we can do? We just want to coexist. We don't want to, we're there as businesses also, and we're downtown, and we're the only ones that are left on the block, and it's like they're trying, it seems to us, Square Bar, Bowers, and Lee's, that they're just trying to, you know, cut us out of everything, and they want us to leave, and they don't want us there. They're just trying to like landlock us, and we've been willing. We said that we don't want to impede anything that they have going on this land that might be happening, that they have an alley running through there. But if we could just get something, like we asked for like 14 feet 7 inches that runs along the laborers hall, just so we can get a strip back there to get to the back of our building for fire, for the Waterworks and Lighting Commission, for the city sewer that has to be cleaned out, for any other maintenance. We're just asking some kind of consideration or something that can happen, and I can't seem to get the information that we need when it was originally put in there and what it was originally intended for, because they're telling me they can't find it at the present time.
And when it was supposedly abandoned. I mean, we're told there's not an alley there, never was an alley there. The road is cut out, you can see where it's been there for
It's been used openly for the past, I know, back in the late 80s, the laborers bought the building, and they used to park back behind the building, and they would come down the alleyway there and park behind the building. So it was open to anyone that wanted to use it. We used to walk it, we used to go to Buzz's Bar all the time. So it's been used, it's been utilized, and now no one can use anything and no one can get anywhere, and we just can't get any answers on it.
Well, you've hired an attorney, and that attorney is trying to work things out with them, and I've talked with that attorney, and he recognizes too that it's a civil matter. If you have an easement that then that's a civil matter. We can't establish that for you. If you've used a certain path or something, that's a civil matter. So I think you've contacted an attorney, and he is pursuing those things for you. But as he and I spoke, we don't get involved in that. That's between you and the property owner.
I guess the thing is we're not getting help from anybody in the city, so we just wanted to bring it to the attention of people and let people know that this is kind of what's going on and what we've been butting our heads up against. And we had to hire an attorney because we couldn't get anything from the Mead Witter Foundation. I know that Rick Pompa had come up and tried to talk to, apparently I was told, to sue or to the mayor, and he couldn't get anywhere, and I believe he was on planning and zoning. I'm not sure, that's just what I was
I've never
told.
spoken with him about this. He's
He
never
said he's
called or
tried to,
contacted
but
me.
that he hasn't. But I guess the point is that we're not getting any help. We just wanted to bring it to the attention and find out if there was something that, since there's such a long history that it was always there, if we just, we just feel defeated.
Do we plow that alley? We plow alleys. Do we plow that alley?
So I think part of the confusion is that it's being referred to as an alley. There's no evidence that it was ever a public alley.
Okay.
It was never part of the rights of way of the city.
Okay.
Right, so, no,
But there-
to my knowledge, the city's never plowed that. It doesn't.
Gene Bolton said when he owned it that the city told him he had to plow that and maintain that, and it had to stay open for the businesses that were back there.
When Buzz's Bar was sold, on the description, that alley is clearly described as not being part of the sale, the 12, 14 feet one way, that's on that.
Right, it's on this one right here.
It's right
It's an easement.
It says
It's
an
very
easement.
clearly,
It was sold, but then it said something about an easement.
How,
And that's a simple thing, that's not involving the city. You would have to, determine what that means, and your attorney hopefully can help you with that. But
if that Buzz's sale?
right. And I guess our question is, so is the city gonna abandon the drain sewers then too?
No.
The city has always maintained that the walkway between my building and the smoke shop, that's no longer there. They've put blacktop there, they've maintained the sewers behind Bowers. So is the city abandoning that too? Also, that they've always taken care of? And I guess these are the questions that were asked. So are the 4 buildings left on this block, you're just saying, well, it's up to you guys to fight, you have to get a lawyer, you have to fight, because we're fighting a foundation that has
More money than Rapids ever thought of having.
right. And I understand the city of Wisconsin Rapids don't want to fight them either, because truly they will run you out of money, and that's their game plan, is they will run you out of money. Before they even got a lawyer, we have $5,000 with the lawyer fees, and they haven't even got a lawyer yet. They just been, nope, yep, we're going to talk to you, we'll take care of this, we'll negotiate it, and now it's, nope, we've stalled you for over a year, now you have to file court papers. And I guess that's the question is, so are the storm sewers our responsibility too? When they flood our buildings, is that something that we take care of? Because we've never taken care of the storm sewers.
Joe, you good here?
Yeah, so if there are sewers that are on private property, if the city maintained them in the past, it probably shouldn't have. Those are private assets, whether it's a storm drain in a parking lot, a roof drain that comes off or whatever. It's private until it's out into the public right of way. So there's a number of leads, both for commercial facilities as well as residential. And we just finished a project where we've got storm leads led back for residential purposes, where people can, if they want to tie their sump pumps into those or whatever. So the city maintains the city-owned utilities that are in the city rights of way on city property. Unless there's some other easement or document that suggests that it's a public asset that's on private property.
Past practices, they've always taken care of that sewer drain. They have been there since, I've been there since 1995, and they have come and they have maintained that sewer drain.
So right now, you just told us, well, I know that we've always done this the last 50 years, but now you're on your own. Is that what you just said?
Well, it's city policy not to provide private service. So if it's not on city property and there's not an easement that says it's a storm sewer easement.
I guess that's what we're looking for. Where's the rest of the documentation when the storm sewers were put in? And then we can't find, all that stuff has disappeared.
I mean, any title, abstract property information is
it's on file in the courthouse, right?
Right
So-
there.
Right here, it's the easements that clearly state,
he's talking about the,
right, that it's the easement for everybody to use. And that is a
Right,
public
that's-
Yeah,
easement.
but it's
That's
not,
one property owner giving an easement to someone else.
right, it
That
doesn't
is
belong
not
to the public.
Public.
It still belongs to that property owner. They're allowing the public to utilize that property through an easement, but it's not the public's easement.
So it's not forever, they can close this easement forever? I mean, that's the whole thing, that's what we're reading, it's still open, it's still an easement that's there. All of a sudden, the easement's no longer there, and I guess that's our point. There's an easement on a document that should be enforced somehow.
I think you should talk to your attorney about that. We're not going to give you legal advice on that, and I think you need to talk to your attorney about that. All I'm saying is that the city is not involved in your pursuit of easements against private property owners. And I'm sorry, but that's...
I just wish the documentation would be available. There should be documentation available when this town was originally set up and who originally put that pituitary easement in there. When was it developed? What was it originally?
That's part of what your attorney would probably do with a title search.
Well, you should be able to get that from the courthouse.
You should be able to get that through the city.
Through the city.
But I don't know, like I said, we're trying to get the master plan. That's through the city. We can't go to the courthouse and get that. That's through we were told through the city. That's what the engineering department told us. I guess the thing is we're just bringing it to light that we're having a big problem. It is a problem. And it just seems like we're just...
Right, if this is how you back your small businesses in Wisconsin Rapids, it's very clear is, no, we're gonna cater to Walmart, we're gonna cater to Applebee's, and this is the people that we cater to. I hate to say this, and if I've been here forever. I was born and raised here. How many small businesses that make a community that you've successfully helped close, that was part of it? I hate to say this, I can remember when the smoke shop was there. If you guys probably ain't old enough, but you remember, that was a little niche in your community that made your community special. Wouldn't it be great if we still had a good cigar shop in Wisconsin Rapids? We don't. It's a small business that's not able to thrive. You're continue to put pressures on small businesses like us. Before long, all you're going to have is Walmart and Quick Trips. And we come to you for some guidance, for some help, and it's pretty much, let her have the block. Where are you going to have? Green spot. That's all you're going to have is green space.
We want to work with everyone. We don't want to make a big deal. We just want to work with everyone. We just want to be able to maintain or get to the back of our buildings.
You can't even get back to your building right now.
We have to take a part of our building off because it's starting to kind of lean a little bit, and we've been wanting to do it. We can't even do it because we have to haul everything from the very back of the building all the way out to the front. We don't have access to the back of our building. It's like we're landlocked. How can you landlock somebody? You know?
After 50 years of having access.
That's all we're saying, is it's like we're being landlocked, and it's like we're being forced because no one wants to seem to help or no one wants to seem to do anything. It seems like we're just being landlocked and we're being forced to have to leave our buildings or our small businesses. And we don't want to do that.
I thank you guys for coming here tonight and bringing this to the committee's attention. Regretfully, there's short of us doing some research into it ourselves, there's not a whole lot we can do at this point in time other than take it under advisement. And for us and other members on council, we can certainly try to see what records we can find. But if as the city attorney said, if it's a private property issue at this point in time, we can't do anything unless we can find a document proving that it is a public right-of-way. Am I correct in saying that, Sue?
Right, and I think you would admit that it's, I mean, everybody's properties are such that, I mean, there is no alley there right now, right? I mean, I think your attorney has established that. I mean, that Is an
Well, there
alley.
should be an alley there, that's what we're saying.
There was,
Well, right, but
it was,
but
it's
there
a,
isn't.
it's a perpetual easement that went through there, and it kind of runs and stops where our alley, according to the certified survey map, kind of starts. It kind of butts up to a part of it. But that's where the land ends. That's where that land ends, is right there is where our land begins. So, thank you for your time.
I kind of like to do some research projects, so I'll see what I can find.
Have fun. I've been researching. I'm going to continue to research.
It's just,
I
thank
took
you
some-
very much.
I took some notes, and you said you had it.
If you ever want to call me, I do have stuff I have back so far back to 1905, and we're going to keep digging. So
And
you'll get at the courthouse.
You're down at the Laborers Hall full time then,
I work Monday through Thursday, 9 to 1.
9 to 1?
It's just a part time there, yeah.
Okay, I probably have to catch you when I'm on a
So you
different
can
day.
call me and leave me a message, and I'll get back to you anytime.
But Nancy Bowers got most of it too, and we have a file this thick of research that we've done, that the access to the alley went back forever, just like what we talked to Gene when he taught the buses. It was an alley that everybody openly used since he was a kid. But this is part of the community, is getting along and all working together.
Yeah.
But now that we have a new player on the block, it's all about them, and we will tell and we will dictate what happens to around you guys.
Well, if you need anything else, please call me, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate your concern.
Okay. Thank you for listening. Well, thanks.
All right. Item number 9, review the 2019 general obligation bond issue and timeline.
That's just an updated schedule that was in your packet. The only difference is that the TID number 8 railroad spur that was proposed for 2019, 300,000 was taken out because it's looking more and more like that project will occur in 2020. So I deducted it from what we're doing. And basically what this is laying out is the 2019 budget. That's what was those are the projects that were approved, and the project and the amount that was going to be funded with a 2019 debt issue. And the 2019 is the proposed. The only difference is the Whitterfield Aquatics facility increased a little bit, and that was laid out, I think, when we went over this, with the timeline between, when we're going to have construction draws, the legacy foundation grant and things like that. So we're looking to, with debt issuance costs, to issue $5.760,000 of general obligation bonds. The timeline for that is that we're reviewing it today. May 21st council basically will be bringing a preliminary bond resolution for approval to the May council. June 18th is when we'll consider a resolution awarding the sale of the bonds and accepting the low bid on those, and then anticipate second week in July where we actually close on the bonds and receive the proceeds. So I just kind of wanted just to review and refresh everyone's memory. So at 2 weeks at council, when we're at preliminary resolution, this is basically what will be, that resolution will be funding these projects. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Just an update. So.
All right. Item number 10, update on the East Town Plaza redevelopment.
That would be me. Really, this comes down to just the fact that this project has been out there for a while. There's been turnover, obviously, at the council and staff, quite honestly. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to bring everyone up to speed. We're kind of entering the next phase on the environmental investigation as well, so it just kind of made sense. So I tried to briefly, I guess, summarize it in the memo that was provided in the packet, as well as providing some pictures. If you ever would like to walk through the building just to kind of get a better sense of what has been done there, I have access. Obviously, the city owns the building, so we can walk through at any time. Just give me a call. But ultimately, it's really, again, just to give you a history of the project. I won't read it verbatim, but basically it came down to, it was a vacant office building that the value was sliding on our assessment roll because it had been vacant so long. There wasn't interest in it based on the fact that it really hadn't been updated since the 1970s. So the city council at that time took the action of acquiring the property and then setting aside funds to get it development ready. What that entailed at that time was basically interior demolition to remove all that 1970s work that quite honestly wasn't necessarily the highest quality work, and then also to work on environmental remediation. That included making sure lead and asbestos was removed from the interior of the building, and then working on getting a closure letter from the DNR. So the interior demolition, asbestos and lead remediation is complete. We finished the groundwater monitoring for through the DNR process. Unfortunately, that has triggered the next phase, which is some vapor intrusion studies. Basically, you go in, measure air quality to make sure that the groundwater contamination is not releasing chemicals or other things that are actually seeping up through the foundation into the structure. We're not expecting to find anything, but because of the type of contamination in the groundwater, it automatically triggers that with the DNR. So that's where we're at with that. Again, it was just really an update, make sure everyone is still okay with it. If there are any questions, obviously I can answer that, but that's ultimately why I requested to be put on the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, one other thing. Just want to let you know we have had interest. I've walked through, I would say 4 or 5 parties through the building. I've got one that was beginning to work on conceptual plans. I keep nagging them every couple of weeks, just seeing if they will commit to putting forth a proposal. Just actually heard from another builder today who has a client who's interested in getting some numbers put together. So there is interest out there. It takes time, unfortunately, and obviously as you see the other improvements happening downtown with other businesses, hopefully this becomes more and more attractive. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any questions for Adam? Thank you for the update. Item number 11, update on the Reggie Regional Economic Growth Initiative. Go ahead, Rick.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mayor, I've got one extra for you. That's just the packet that I gave them. I apologize for not having it packet ready, but I'm not asking, we're not on the agenda for a decision tonight. My name is Rick Bacoka. I'm the president of Regional Economic Growth Initiative, finishing up my 3rd year in that capacity. Reggie was started about 5 years ago by the Encourage Foundation with a grant from WEDC to promote regional economic development and growth. So my disclaimer as I start this is Rick Bacoka is an employee of Reggie. I report to board members, a 13-member Reggie board, 2 of which are sitting over here tonight. They approve and have knowledge of all of my activities, and I report those activities back to them every month. So in some instances, in a couple of weeks past, somebody says, well, that's Rick doing that, that's Rick doing that, that's Reggie doing that, and that's how I refer to it. So each year I've come to talk to you. I'd like to just point out some of the things that are in the packet here tonight. There are different ways that Reggie communicates with its partners and are an indication of our activities. The first one that you see is a president report to our committee. That's how I report and communicate to them. Listing the projects that are active, the things that are going on, meetings with municipalities, strategies that we are looking at, and upcoming meetings and events. So in addition to the Reggie board, I prepare a monthly meeting for the Rome Community Development because I still sit on the TIF committee there, and I'm an ex officio member of that committee as well. And in addition to the CDA down there, I am ex officio to Adams County Economic Development. I sit on the board for Synergy. I'm on the commission for North Central Regional Planning Commission. I'm the vice chairman of that organization. So I'm active in a lot of different areas here. One of the things our board asked for this year, and we're getting into the prioritizing the action plan. There's a couple items on there that I'd like to just point out to you that are active, very active. The Sand Valley, of course, is still ongoing and is still moving ahead. 3,000-acre TIF there continues to be developed. I was out there Sunday night, Saturday and Sunday. At the end of April, first part of May, they played more than 500 rounds of golf. The place was amazingly packed. And even though it does not reside within the limits of Wisconsin Rapids, it is certainly a potential economic driver and a real economic driver of the central Wisconsin region. It continues to go forward. When you get to the prioritization action plan, you see how Reggie prioritizes projects in 3 ways. Activities that would not be in play without Reggie help. Number 2, activities that Reggie plays a large role as a partner. And 3, regional activity where Reggie helps but are directed from those outside of Reggie, but would be resolved without any Reggie existence. So I hope you find those illuminating. A couple of the big projects that are on the board that I'd just like to talk to you about is Wood County has put in for a grant to reorganize economic development for Wood County. My opinion, this is long overdue. This addresses some of the reasons that Reggie was brought into existence. 5 years ago, when Encourage put in for this grant, we didn't have the players involved. Midstate now has a workforce in economic development. The new county UW Extension agent at Wood County, Nancy Turek, is much more versed in economic development than Peter Manley was. Wood County, the seed committee there that handles economic development, is looking at joining for the first time as a county the North Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. That meeting was addressed and promoted by Mayor Verwink and Kelly Ryan and Angel and the chambers at Marshfield. Just a reminder to you that not only when the paper industry fell apart did we lose an economic driver here. The paper industry consolidated Port Edwards and Nakusa. They brought customers here by the plane load. They toured them through their mills for decades. And those customers went back and told the story of this wonderful place that they'd gotten treated well by the community, by the company. The customers of those paper mills stayed at the Mead Inn. They went back home and they talked about this area. When the paper mill kind of went into the mode that it's in now, we lost that branding, that marketing, that economic exposure that the paper mills provided for us for 100 years. And so one of the things that we're looking at bringing back, and we need only to look at Marathon County or Portage County and how robust it seems their economic development is, maybe compared to ours, but to know that their marketing and their branding and the way they promote their counties, Wood County doesn't have anything like that at all. So when Reggie was created, we looked at filling some of that role, but for the county to do it, I would be the first to say I'm really in favor of the county doing something, to have a standalone economic development committee, to have an entity that promotes and brands and markets and goes to some of these events and conferences the same way your mayor does, the same way our county board chairman does, to promote the area. And we need that. That is a basic tenet of economic development. One of the things I was thinking about as I came to talk to you tonight was the county wasn't going to do this. Reggie needs to expand its role. And just as an example, I've been invited to be a keynote speaker at the Wisconsin Economic Development Association Fall Seminar in Stevens Point. It'll be an afternoon engagement after lunch. I'll be speaking to 200 potential developers. We can't get that many people in a room ever to tell them about Wisconsin Rapids, Wood County, Adams County, Sand Valley, and all of the opportunities that exist here. Just from Metalco, and Adam and I exchanged emails today, we have a gentleman's name is Tim Martinez, and I copied one of his emails in those reports. He works for CBRE, Real Estate Development Company, and they follow around corporate expansions like Metalco. Emailed us, wants to come to this area and take a tour around and see what's happening here. And we just exchanged emails again today. We're hoping to have him here in the next 2 weeks. It's that kind of exposure, that kind of taking that message outside of our boundaries that really helps economic development. I know a lot of the public would say that economic development is a Red Lobster and a Dunkin' Donuts, but we all know that it's really a lot more in depth than that. And it takes constant exposure, and it takes time in developing and making these places developer ready, so when the developers come here, the city, the county, and the towns and municipalities have their ducks in a row. So these are action plans. There's a text here, an email from Scott Harrington from Vanderwall. One of the more recent priorities is opportunity zones. Working with Adam, Mayor, Port Edwards, Nakusa, some select opportunity zones in Wausau and Stevens Point to create a regional prospectus that we can, I could talk for the next 2 hours about opportunity zones, but it's a tax incentive program for businesses to invest capital gains. And I talked to one of the Merrill Lynch people in Cleveland Friday. He says they just rolled out the last guidelines on May 2nd. Wisconsin only has one national company looking at developing or utilizing any of the opportunity zones in Wisconsin. We need to do our own branding and marketing. We need to put that prospectus together. We need to get it out. We need to talk to our community foundations. We need to talk to people of wealth, wealth advisors, and developers, and let them know that our paper mills are actually owned by people who are interested in making paper these days, that we're expanding our manufacturing base. The medical industry, if you didn't hear the announcement today, looks like it's going to take another big jump with the combination of Marshfield Clinic and Gunderson. They're looking at joining forces. So those jobs, the housing developments that come with that, they all take many times multiple municipal contacts. Joe and Adam have been working with Reggie on road project over on the east side of town. The business is in Wisconsin Rapids. The road is in Grand Rapids. Wisconsin Rapids gets the tax revenue. In a perfect world, the town would be responsible for the $1.5 million to rebuild the road to take the trucking traffic out. So there's got to be a compromise in there. By putting the municipalities together, we probably have access for some state money, some T grants, and some cooperation between those. So a lot going on. The last thing that I wanted to touch on you is Reggie has been, to some's consternation, others' happiness, involved in trying to negotiate a solution to our southern town in Saratoga. A great many people there didn't want agriculture to expand into town. We believe that there's a solution that provides for that not to happen. And part of that solution may be a very large solar farm facility on lands that one time may have been designated for that agricultural use. And I just want you, I copied this in here for you to see. 2 of these have already been licensed in the state of Wisconsin. They produce a tremendous revenue stream. You ask, well, how would Wood County have another entity to take care of economic development? 100 megawatt facility, which would take about 800 acres, would provide the town $165,000 a year for the first 25 years of the license, and almost $350,000 to Wood County. And so these are there. What makes that land valuable? 1, it's part of a solution. 2, it's contiguous property. Those places that have contiguous property of 1,000 acres or 1,600 acres are going to be the ones that are going to have the opportunity to do this. Once it's up and running, it just goes. And where we're looking at, possibly in Saratoga, the transmission lines run through there. So Wood County would look at $350,000 a year for 25 years with no investment on their part. What a revenue stream. That would be the same as building 700 new homes in that town. You can't do better than that. Plus, having that solar array gives you immediate brand and marketing for your county and your region. So these are some of the kinds of things that we work with and Reggie is done. I would encourage any of you, my name and number, I'll give you my card. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, please give me a call, stop by my office, let me know. I would say that from Wisconsin Rapids' perspective, in this format, this may be the last time that Reggie appears before you. I'm really optimistic that the county is going to put something together and that the county is going to drive that either in an employee or a contract basis, especially if they can get a revenue stream to provide that. But in the 5 years Reggie's been in existence, we've proven the value and the coordination and the collaboration, and it would be a really shame to watch it go away. Mayor, do you have anything you want to ask or say?
Anyone have any questions for Rick?
I would just ask that on the next finance committee meeting that you put me on again for the funding side of it. It would be the same as last year. This is the same actual time frame that we went through last year. Started the process in May. We remember we screwed up the agenda last year. We didn't get it on the June agenda, and so it flipped over to July. So it's halfway through the year. You get a chance to gauge what we've been doing so far, and you can see what's on our agenda for the remaining part. Any questions?
Jen, could you put copies of this in the other Alderman's mailbox? I'll give her a copy. They're not here, they should know about it.
Okay, so there's a lot of reading here, and I didn't want to take up a lot of your time, so I'd really encourage any questions. Stop by Adam's office or give me a call. Thank you very much for your time.
Item number 12 is an initial review of alcohol license renewals. Upon initial review, there was none recommended denied by the police chief.
Yeah, these are
the liquor license renewals. They are, there are two, there's a memo that I included that are delinquent on property taxes, and those, until they pay their taxes, would not be recommended for renewal.
Right, so you're just preliminarily reviewing them now, and then if they're not paid soon, we need to send them a notice that we might not renew them for that reason.
But the other ones are all set.
Right, but then there are 2 6-month licenses on there, which we would request that you approve. They're the softball licenses, the Men's Softball Association and the Women's Softball Association. So you get started soon. They're not on the July 1 to June 30. They do the 6-month licenses. And then they're listed in your list, and they're just year licenses for 6 months.
They're 2 of the last 3 on your sheet.
Kind of like how we did with the June 21st downtown on tap event, where I did that in separate motions. Maybe best to do it.
However you want, absolutely.
Okay, just get a consensus here from the committee. I guess first off, before I do that, is there any discussion on this?
Well, from my understanding, the only ones that we're going to approve are the 6-month ones, because the other ones we'll have one more reading in June.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would make a motion to approve the Wisconsin Rapids Women's Softball Association. Jamie McDonald, agent, doing business as Wisconsin Rapids Women's Softball, for a Class B beer license at the premises located at Needfield, 17th Avenue South in Wisconsin Rapids. And which was the other one here?
Men's softball.
Men's softball?
Men's and women's.
Oh. Okay. I'll amend my wording to change that to men's and women's softball to approve their 6-month Class B beer license for the premises located at Needfield, 17th Avenue South in the city of Wisconsin Rapids.
I'll second it.
We have motion second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Okay. I would make a motion to
approve it.
Oh. All right. The motion second on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. I'd make a motion to approve the initial preliminary liquor licenses for the businesses listed within the Property and Finance Committee packet.
I'll second it.
We have motion and second. Any further discussion?
But you're not approving them. This is just was an initial initial, they're not initial licenses, this is just the first review of them. And they'll all come back next month.
All right.
The most references.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Then as far as the two with the delinquent taxes, Sue, do you want to?
Sure. I think those are the only two. Obviously, if others don't pay the actual license fee 15 days before, then we would add those two, but at the next finance meeting, we'll update.
So you don't need any action on it then? at this time?
I think a motion to direct the clerk to send notices to those who have delinquencies.
I'd make a motion that a notice be sent to Bhavgani LLC, Shuzale P. Patel agent, doing business as Fast Freak Mobile, and a notice be sent to Amber Prime LLC, Rasham Kumar K. Patel agent, doing business as U-Pump. That notice be sent to these businesses about their taxes being delinquent, and if taxes are not brought up to pay balance, that their liquor license will be denied.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Beverage operator licenses and renewals.
You have both there. Those are brand new licenses and also the ones that are renewing, that are current licenses.
Are you aware of any that the police chief?
There have been no denials.
There's no
from the
denials.
police, yeah.
Not recommended denied by the police.
Right.
I recommend approval of the beverage operator licenses and license renewals.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Item number 14 was an audit of the bills. Scott, have you had a chance to look over?
Yes. I guess one question, Tim, I had was, is it Liberty Mutual or Spectrum Insurance where there was a high dollar figure that I noticed when I was looking through the bills? Is that a one-time payment?
We pay it twice a year. That'd be our liability, workers' comp, all our insurance coverages.
Okay, so it isn't a monthly, it's...
No, it's we pay it twice a year.
Awesome, thanks.
Any other further discussion on the bills?
No.
All right, I will make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Next item is adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned at 6:35 p.m.